after she had completed her research 3 times with similar results, coincidentally, the Russian Academy of Sciences facility where she was working started feeding all of the rats a rat chow based on genetically modified soy, and she had a brilliant idea of simply asking her colleagues after 2 months what was the infant mortality rate in their study. They weren't studying GMOs, they just happened to be feeding all of the infants, all of the rats, GM soy. It turns out it had skyrocketed to over 55%. This suggests it's not some obscure toxin that had made its way into her particular batch, but it was more likely a generic problem. In addition, when you go back further, Italian researchers fed genetically modified soy to mice, and they found that the testicles were damaged, the structure and function of the testicles were changed, including the young sperm cell. And when they looked at the offspring in the embryo stage, at very, very young embryo stage, they removed it from the wombs of the pregnant mice who had been eating genetically modified soy or natural soy. And they found that those that had been eating genetically modified soy, the embryo DNA functioned differently. So Ermakova, this was in Italy. Ermakova back in Moscow, she decided to feed GM soy also to male rats, and she showed me the picture, which I use in my presentation, and the testicles changed from pink to blue. So normally the testicles are pink in male rats, and she showed the controls, and they were pink, but they were blue in those that were fed genetically modified soy.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. And now, what is it, 8 major food crops are being genetically engineered, and now they want to go to hundreds?
Oh, that's right, exactly. The goal of Monsanto, the explicit goal, is to genetically engineer 100% of all the commercial seeds in the world and patent them, and they have a plan to achieve it. Now, it doesn't stop with soy. We also have evidence of infertility with corn, and we also have it with the GM cotton. With the corn, the Austrian government fed genetically modified corn that was both Roundup ready and also produced its own toxic pesticide called BT. It was both events in the same gene, in the same DNA. So they found that the more of this corn that they fed to mice, the fewer the babies they had and the smaller the babies were.
And by the way, large portions of the corn and things we now eat in the United States are of these GMO varieties.
Yeah, about 85% of the corn. Now,
so, folks, you're having your family line annihilated right now. You're being you're under assault, and you know, I mean, if you walked up and punched a cop in the face, you go to prison. But they feed this to the cops, and the cops just love it. I mean, I'm just pointing out that we're all being assaulted.
So we've seen this also in livestock. I happened to discover a new source that changed his animals to non-GM feed and found that the litters got bigger. I do know of about 24 farmers that claim that certain varieties of GM corn cause their pigs or cows to become sterile. Some pigs had false pregnancies or gave birth to bags of water. And also in India, they discovered that buffalo that were feeding on genetically modified cotton cakes. These are the cotton seed cakes. Now, these are cotton that's genetically engineered to produce its own toxic pesticide. Most of the buffalo that ate the cottonseed cakes got reproductive problems, including prolapsed uteruses, sterility, and abortions and premature delivery.
Jeffrey Smith, stay there. How do they think they're going to get away with this, folks? Well, they think you're dumb. They want population reduction, and they're getting it. No grandchildren for you, folks. We'll be right back. Yeah, if things don't change soon. Ladies and gentlemen, I have literally read hundreds of studies from prestigious organizations like the International Journal of Biological Sciences, extremely prestigious. Here's the headline: Monsanto GMO corn linked to organ failure study reveals in lab animals. And they test on rabbits and guinea pigs and rats and mice because their metabolic system is very similar to us. Same thing with pigs or monkeys, primates. I mean, this isn't a joke, okay? This isn't a joke. This isn't a game. And most of the food we eat now, when you go to a Mexican food restaurant and eat corn chips, it's frying you. Now, we can say no. We can take control of our society. We can demand real organic food. We can demand the feds don't change the organic descriptions to where it can be non-organic. This is life and death. And I know this stuff, and it's hard for me to not forget what I'm doing. But I've got to take care of my children. I've got to make sure they can have a healthy life and have grandchildren. This is eugenics. Make no mistake. Genetic Roulette, the documented health risk of genetically engineered foods. Jeffrey M. Smith, available at Infowars.com, and his international bestseller, Seeds of Deception. You need to get these and get them out to everybody you know. He's going to be with us for one more segment. Continuing, sir, I mean, you can go on for hours. What about the study? I was talking to you about that genetic engineer out of England who's just had a stroke, unfortunately, but I've interviewed him years ago, who found similar things in his studies. Talk about that.
Well, this is Dr. Arpad Pusztai, a very interesting case. He is the world's leading researcher in his field and was granted a $3 million by the UK government to create a way to test for the safety of GMOs, which was supposed to be implemented into the EU law. But what happened was he accidentally discovered that GM foods are very dangerous, that his rats, after 10 days, had smaller brains, livers, and testicles, partial atrophy of the liver, damaged immune system, and potentially precancerous cell growth in the digestive tract. He went public with his concerns and was a hero for about 2 days at his institute. And then the pro-GM UK Prime Minister's office apparently placed 2 phone calls to the director of the institute. On a Wednesday morning, Dr. Pusztai's contract was canceled, his data was withdrawn, his team was dismantled, they never implemented the protocols. In fact, they told him if he spoke at all about his research, he would be sued. They went through a whole process to try and trash his reputation, to promote the biotechnology industry, and what he had discovered was very interesting. You see, he fed rats a potato that was genetically engineered with a gene that produces an insecticide. But he had tested the insecticide over and over again on rats and knew it was safe. In fact, in his study, he fed some rats the natural potato spiked with the insecticide, and others eating the genetically engineered potato that produced the insecticide from within each cell. But only those that ate the GM potato, the genetically modified potato, got these illnesses and got this sickness.
So it's the way the poison was being delivered.
Exactly. It was the process of genetically engineering the potato that caused the problem, and that was what his great concern for him was, because he was aware that the same process was used to create the soy and corn and tomatoes.
And it was eating their livers. Folks, you don't drink Jack Daniels because you don't want to die of liver failure. Hell, you eat potatoes and corn, you get it. I mean, this is serious. Now, in addition to his work, we're finding that the Roundup persists for a long time on the fields after it's sprayed. Of course, Monsanto tried to say it was biodegradable, but 2 courts of law, one here and one in France, demanded and ordered them to remove it from their label. Well, what about tap water? We know it gets on the water table. Jeffrey, stay there. We're going to have 5 minutes left with you on the other side because you're on the road with your film. Your film's coming out in October. I can't wait to see it. He's an amazing author and filmmaker, Jeffrey M. Smith. I'm Alex Jones. Author of Seeds of Deception, Jeffrey M. Smith. Both books available at Infowars.com. Just hundreds and hundreds of these studies of the sterilization, the reduction in fertility. I saw headlines in the London Guardian this week and last week, Jeffrey, where it was reported that the so-called government watchdogs now in England, the ones investigating GMO, it turns out, are on the GMO payroll, just like the flu vaccine crowd, and are basically lying. So they are beginning to get caught with their hands in the genetic engineering, bioethicist, eugenics jar. Oh, yeah. In fact, some of the independent people on a panel actually resigned because it was another one of those takeovers. I've actually traveled to 32 countries speaking about GMOs, and I see all over the world it's Monsanto's own people that are installed into the positions to approve Monsanto's own products, just like in the U.S. But I want to say it's not all depressing news. You see, in Europe, when Dr. Pusztai was finally able to speak 7 months after he discovered he was shut down, all hell broke loose in the media. 750 articles were written in a single month. Within 10 weeks, the tipping point of consumer rejection was achieved, and within a single week, virtually every major food company committed to stop using genetically modified ingredients in their European brands.
But that was because the Europeans were then informed by the mainstream media. In the U.S., it was described as one of the 10 most underreported events of the year by Project Censors.
Just like Fox wasn't allowed to report on the genetically, engineered growth hormone.
Exactly. They were silenced with 2 threats from Monsanto's attorney promising, quote, dire consequences, unquote, to Fox TV and Rupert Murdoch. So what happened is, in the United States, the same companies that have removed GM ingredients from Europe and from Japan still sell it to us here. All we need is about 5% of U.S. shoppers to start avoiding brands that contain GM ingredients. It'll turn these things into a pure marketing liability with zero consumer benefits, and we will see a tipping point. Now, the good news is it's already happening. The fastest-growing claim among store brands in 2009 was GMO-free. Supermarket News, a big journal that predicts supermarket trends and food trends, predicted that this year would show an unprecedented upsurge of consumer awareness and concern about GMOs. October happens to be non-GMO month. 10-10-10 is non-GMO day. And the sales of our non-GMO shopping guide and the views on our site at non-GMOshoppingguide.com, which help people maneuver around the GM ingredients to buy the non-GM brands, they're skyrocketing. So what's happening right now, and I've been traveling all over the United States for 7 years. I travel about 165 days a year. I'm seeing an unprecedented upsurge of activism, but not just energy, but intelligence. A lot of people who realize the details now. They're quoting back to me things that I said years ago. They're expanding on it. They're reading about it. And so right now we have the perfect opportunity to create a tipping point. And so on our website at responsibletechnology.org, which is our nonprofit Institute for Responsible Technology, we have a campaign for healthier eating in America. We have a link to our shopping guide. We have free videos online, free podcasts, a free newsletter that you can sign up for to get it once.
Well, that's another great point. They're talking about healthcare cost off the charts. Meanwhile, on record, the GMO food we're eating is frying our livers, frying our kidneys. I mean, we've got the studies right here, just devastating people.
I'm talking to some patients this week who, when they got off of GMOs, their symptoms disappeared very, very quickly. I mean, it's remarkable. And you asked me earlier about the human studies, and unfortunately there's only one published human feeding study, and they found that the genes inserted into soybeans can transfer into the DNA of the bacteria living inside our intestines and continue to function long after we stop eating the GMO. So it's not good news, but the UK government just stopped any follow-up, so we don't know really how dangerous or prevalent it is.
All right. Well, Jeffrey Smith, we really appreciate you coming on with us. We look forward to speaking to you again in the future. God bless you, my friend.
Thank you, Alex.
This is Life and Death Information. We'll be right back. Stay with us.